I now would like to introduce to you Professor Yehuda Gellman, good friend. Yehuda Gellman is a Professor Emeritus of the Department of Philosophy of Ben Gurion University of the Negev, and a prolific writer of many most important works, books, booklets, essays, which all of you need to read. Bavkasha.
The title of my talk is Buddhism and Atheistic Religion. A Buddhist monk from Vietnam and I were standing together watching a woman lighting Shabbos candles. When she finished lighting the candles, he explained to me why she had to cover her eyes with her hands. And this is what he said to me. He said, I want to explain to you why a woman has to cover her eyes when she lights the Shabbos candles. It's because you can't look at the light of Shabbos with the same eyes that you use to look at the light of the weekdays. So you have to take your hands and shut tight the eyes of the weekdays so that you can open your eyes, new eyes, different eyes, to see the light of Shabbos. A Buddhist monk from Vietnam. You can't look at Buddhist atheism with the same eyes that you look at Western atheism. In order to look at Buddhist atheism, you have to put your hands over your eyes and close the eyes that you use to look at Western atheism and open your eyes, different eyes, new eyes, in order to look at Buddhist atheism. Now, early on, there are indications that Buddhism wasn't so much an atheistic religion as it was a religion in which God simply didn't appear. In the early Pali language canon of Theravada Buddhism, there are many indications that the Buddha refrained from teaching any metaphysical doctrines. He held, and there are various sutras that I could name, some of them not so easily, the Kuda Madhun Kiyovada Sutra, etc., and so on, in which the Buddha says that to occupy yourself with metaphysical, philosophical questions is taking us away from the real work which we have to do. And that is the work of working to extricate ourselves from suffering, from unhappiness, which is rooted in our egocentric graspings. And so even in one early Pali Sutra, he even refuses, which is really apikorsut for Buddhism, to say whether there is a self or there is not a self. It doesn't matter. If you are hit by an arrow, it doesn't matter who or why it was shot. The important thing is to treat the wound that the arrow has created. And so in what has come to be known the Water Snake Sutra, the Buddha explains that there's a right way and a wrong way to catch a water snake. Catch a water snake by the tail, and it's likely to turn around and bite you. What you have to do is catch the water snake by the head. If you catch it by the head, you can control it and use it for good. The Buddha said, if you take my teachings as teaching metaphysical facts, there is no self. The Thagata, the liberated one lives or does not live after death. The cosmos is eternal or not eternal. Then you will be grabbing my teachings by the what? but a tail. Don't take my teachings as doctrines, as metaphysical truths. Take them as therapy, and you will have grabbed my teachings by the head. But in due time, Buddhism became a full-blown atheistic religion. And this is largely due historically to the great work of Nagarjuna, the great 2nd century Buddhist thinker, the person who founded Madhyamika Buddhism, who argued strenuously and extensively against the existence of God. And by the 5th and 6th century, this was followed by many thinkers who spoke explicitly in atheistic terms. So Richard Hayes, who is a Buddhist himself and a great researcher of Buddhism, could write about Buddhism, and here is a quotation: "Atheism is a doctrine of fundamental importance within Buddhist religious philosophy. As such, it was a doctrine for which the Buddhist apologists during the academic period were strongly motivated to find good arguments for. It is essential to Buddhism," says Hayes, "that it be atheistic." But he's also saying that the arguments that were given by Nagarjuna and others for atheism were not the real source of the reasons for Buddhist atheism. The Buddhist belief in atheism was deeper and had deep spiritual roots. And that's the difference between Western atheism and Buddhist atheism. Western atheism is a result of the desire to dethrone God and put humanity in the center. Let me read to you from the Atheistic Humanist Association, from their here. The American Human Association. Humanism considers the complete realization of human personality to be the end of man's life. And humanism asserts that the nature of the universe depicted by modern science makes unacceptable any supernatural or cosmic guarantees of human values. And the Jewish atheist Shaul Chernichovsky said, "For yet I shall believe in man." That is the nature of Western atheism. But Buddhist atheism displaces God not for the purpose of putting humanity in the center, but for other reasons. And the reasons are, and I can't speak about Buddhism in general, but I'm taking particular slices of what has been said. Buddhism is against seeking for permanence, for trying to hold on to something that's permanent, something that will give you security. It is a part of your egocentric grasping, your need to hold on to something, your need to find something that will save you, that will help you, that will give you a place to stand. It is fundamental to Buddhism that there is no permanence, there is no substance which exists, and therefore certainly no substance which is eternal. The problem with God is, and here Buddhism is a warning to all of us in this room. The problem with God is that God can become an object of egocentric grasping. That I use God in order to serve my ends. I use God in order to advance my own, to help me with my own insecurity, to give me a permanence, to give me a place to hold on to, a God who will bless me, who will bless my people, a a God who will be a source not of freedom from the egocentric predicament, which then will free me from all of my suffering, my grasping, my panicky, egocentric orientation, but a God who will ultimately feed that kind of egocentric need, which Buddhism is trying to do away with. So all of the arguments against God are apologetics for that basic point of view. To believe in God is to grasp something. There's this famous image of how monkeys are caught, or used to be caught in India. They would hollow out a coconut with a hole just big enough for the monkey's hand to go through, and they would fill it with food. And the the coconut would be attached to a rope. The monkey would put its hand in and grab the food, but wouldn't be able to pull its hand out, and they would catch the monkey. Because the monkey couldn't let go of the food. Couldn't let go. And so it was caught. It was captive. To leave go is to be able to be free. So in Buddhist meditation, to be in Buddhist meditation without God is a moment, a therapeutic moment, in which I must detach myself, I must cut off myself from the possibility of having that anchor which will feed my egocentric needs. It is a moment of floating free. As the Zen master said, nothing to do, no place to go. Just sitting. And that was the experience I had in the several years in which I was part of a Buddhist meditation group here in Jerusalem. It is a warning to us about how we are to believe in God. And if we take the Buddhist teachings seriously, the atheistic teachings seriously, we can come back with a new understanding of what it is to believe in God and to worship God. To say that God exists, to say that God is to be worshipped, is to say that nothing in the world is to be worshipped. That nothing in my life has the ultimate value to which I am to cling, which I am to grasp for, which I am to try to hold on to. To say that God exists eternally is to face, when done right, when taking the Buddhist warning into sight. To say that God exists eternally is to see that my life is flimsy, is contingent, it's to see it in a way in which to let go of the grasping, to let go of that holding on of the monkey to the coconut. So that Buddhism has an insight into non-permanence, into overcoming the egocentric predicament, which of course can be found in Judaism, and that's one of my points. There's a commonality. Buddhist atheism being fed by a partial commonality of interest, of understanding, which stands as a warning to us in our failures to understand what it is to believe in God, what it is to be one of the chosen people, which is not a matter of grabbing onto something which will make me triumphant, but a matter of letting go. I want to finish off with reading from something from Rav Kook, which I want to apply here. where Cook writes as follows, and I'm reading it in English. There is denial that is like an affirmation of faith, an affirmation of faith akin to denial. A person can affirm the doctrine of the Torah coming from heaven, but with the meaning of heaven so strange that nothing of true faith remains. And a person can deny Torah coming from heaven, where the denial is based on what the person has absorbed of the meaning of heaven from people full of ludicrous thoughts. Such a person believes that the Torah comes from a source higher than that. Although that person may not have reached the point of truth, nonetheless this denial is to be considered akin to an affirmation of faith. Torah from heaven is but an example for all affirmations of faith, regarding the relationship between their expression and language and their inner essence, the latter being the main desiderata of faith. I have met a Buddhist monk whose denial is perhaps a greater affirmation than the affirmation that I know of some of my fellow Jews. Thank you.
Chazak Baruch to Professor Gellman, Toda Rabah. Most instructive. I'm sure you've all heard about famous Jewish thinker Mordechai Kaplan, the man who started the Reconstructionist movement in America, who people say was an atheist, pantheist, didn't believe in God. But he published a Sidur, he published a Tefillah, a prayer book. And people used to joke that the first page said, "To whom it may concern." And indeed it is concern which stands at the very basic center of what religion is all about.